Hello guys, it's Ryan Ho back with another video. Today I want to talk about why I think the Audeze MM100 is going to be the new standard headphone at $400. This headphone is tuned just the best, most neutral or accurate headphone I've ever heard for an open back planar headphone especially. I really think this headphone and how good it is can really be traced back to Audeze when they released the LCD5. The Audeze LCD5 really was the revolutionary kind of product in the Audeze lineup. It really kind of spelled a new era for the company, I think. Their kind of shift to 90mm planar drivers and single-sided. This was really important because essentially their headphones used to be really, really heavy, like 600 grams. But the LCD5 was 420 grams, so it was much lighter and something that's more practical for daily use, right? But the second thing that they were also able to achieve was not just a lighter headphone, but a well-tuned headphone. Because at this point, the Audeze had more of a more unique type of warmer type of sound, but when they got to the LCD5, they were really able to kind of bring out the mid-range, and it kind of is more reminiscent of headphones like the HD 650, where you have a really nice mid-range that has really nice vocals, that has really nice instruments that are pushed forward, and that type of tuning that's really popular. And they were really able to achieve that with the detail of a planar, right? However, the problem with it was that the LCD5 was $4,500, so not everyone is really going to be able to afford that, right? So, fast forward a year later, they had a collaboration with Manny Marroquin, which was the MM500, right? And that was a headphone that was made for studio. It's endorsed by the guy who is a mixing engineer, and he also won a Grammy, right? So now they is able to release a headphone with the same really great mid-range tuning, but the price of the headphone is $1,700 now, right? Instead of $4,500. So the price is a lot more palatable, right? People can afford it a little bit more, but it is still expensive. Now, obviously, fast forward another year, and we have the MM100, which is, of course, the Manny Marroquin collab again, but the price of this is $400. And guess what? You're getting a light headphone that's under 500 grams. You're also getting a headphone, once again, with great mid-range tuning on a planar. It's able to unlock a lot of detail, and the planar drivers are also really big, so you guys get bigger soundstage. And all this kind of adds up to, honestly, a really amazing product. So yeah, let's kind of delve into the details a little bit more. And of course, I actually bought this headphone with my own money, so it's not like sponsored or anything. And I do have the Maxwell here that I'll do some quick comparisons, but I think you're gonna have to see my future videos for like a more in-depth comparison with the Maxwell. All right, so this is the MM100. The box actually has basically nothing on it, so there's no branding really besides their name. All right. This box reminds me of the Maxwell, very similar. Got the headset, well, headphone, I guess. There's no microphone. Quite a bit of stuff in here. All right, so let's take a closer look at the headphone, right? So let's just first talk about the accessories that you get. You don't really get that much, honestly. You get a cable. So you get this 3.5mm cable terminating into a 1/4 inch. So really you have to kind of have pro audio to kind of use this. So either you need to have, a DAC amp that can support a 1/4 inch adapter, right? And then you also get this M series by Audeze bag. It's actually really big. This is probably one of the bigger bags I've ever seen provided, but that's basically all you get inside the package, right? So now we have the headphone. So honestly, the design of this headphone, I absolutely love it. This grill itself is just, it's a good looking headphone. Like, let me just show you. This is the Headphone headphone next to it. Like, looks kind of boring in comparison to this nice grill design. Like, I really dig the look a lot. And of course, this is a open back planar magnetic headphone, right? So obviously you're gonna hear the sounds from outside. Now, the other thing I would talk about is kind of the headband. So this has the same headband as the gaming headphone, right? So they have their other headphone, which is the Audeze Maxwell. That's their gaming headphone. It has the same exact headband, which is honestly good for me because this headband fits perfectly for me. I have the definition of a standard head. So for me, I didn't really need to change the adjustments at all on this. However, for other people, you might not be so lucky. So like my fiance, she tried the headphone and her head's kind of too small and she's kind of in between the sizes, so it doesn't really fit perfectly for her. Now, the other thing is I noticed that the tensioning of this is really kind of lighter than the Maxwell headphone, but not gonna be a problem at all, but it moves pretty easily. And the pads on this are actually nice leather pads. So you can see they're nice and squishy. They're super comfortable. I really enjoy it. And yeah, it's just soft. It's pretty big, but I wouldn't say it's the biggest pad I've ever seen, but honestly, it should accommodate most ears. So you can see inside and you can kind of see what they call the phasers, right? And you can see the big driver. So this whole entire thing is their 90mm driver, right? So let's talk about the build quality, right? So this grill is made of metal, band is actually made of metal right here. So overall, it's made mostly of sturdy material, so I don't think it will break like their other older gaming headphones that broke a lot. So I do have confidence in the build quality. All right, so let's talk about power, right, and connectivity, right? So when it comes to the headphone, honestly, it could run on an iPhone. I've tried it. It's 18 ohms, so you do definitely need an amplifier that has at least low output impedance so you won't get any noise introduced. Now, we also have the cable. So the way this is actually designed is there are actually two entries, right? And you could plug either one into it and it will work. So if you want to do your left or right, it will be fine. Now, the other thing that I realized is that this headphone didn't come with a 3.5mm jack, right? But then I realized that like any type of 3.5mm jack will actually work as well. So you can just use this cable and plug it on this side and you'll get audio off of both sides. And this is actually the cable that I got with the Audeze Maxwell, right? So you could just do that if you want to use like a 3.5mm. So with the headphone on the scale, you can see it weighs 460 grams. So it's actually a little bit lighter than what they rate on the website, but if you include the cable, it is actually a lot heavier with the cables. All right, let's talk about everyone's favorite part, sound. So the sound of this is very reminiscent of the MM500, right? So it's very neutral, very accurate sound. So starting down low, we have the bass. So the bass has a nice flat bass, but it honestly sounds like it has a lift in the sub bass because it has such a strong bass punch and hit. You can definitely feel all the sub bass notes. You can definitely hear it. It's very accurate. It's very detailed. And when I was comparing it to my other planar, like my Headphone planar, actually sound more detailed than that and more dynamic. So it's a very nice bass, honestly, and I really enjoyed it. Now, of course, this is still an open-back headphone, so you're not going to get like some pounding amount of bass, right? But I don't think anyone's expecting that because it's a studio headphone. We go to the mid-range. I think that is, you know, the bread and butter of this headphone. The mid-range of this is a nice full mid-range. The vocals sound really good. They're very reminiscent of, you know, the most popular 650 headphones from Sennheiser. It's a nice full mid-range. You're going to hear everything you want, all that detail. There's no weird type of tuning there. You know, a lot of other planars, in my opinion, I've heard a lot of them. They all have some weird quirk of the mid-range being kind of, you know, scooped out, kind of underemphasized in some ways. This is really a masterclass of mid-range. It is really, really, really good. And, you know, when you're listening to male, female vocals, they just sound like they're right in front of you. They're very present, very accurate, and it sounds very lovely. Like, listening to music on this is just something I could do all day, right? Now, getting the treble, which I think is probably the most impressive part about this headphone, that is the part where I was actually worried the most, because from my experience listening to the LC5 and the MM500, is the treble was a little, you know, dark. I would say are a little bit lower than neutral. This one is actually, I would say it's neutral, almost above neutral. It's almost slightly, I wouldn't say it's bright, but it's like actually not dark at all. It was very, very impressive. And that's something that I didn't actually expect. And I think there was a massive improvement from what I actually expected it to sound like. I feel like that really rounded off this headphone for me, honestly, is the treble performance is actually, I don't feel like I'm missing it at all. I don't feel like there's not enough. It's exactly where I want it to be. So really, like overall, whether I'm listening to like EDM or like pop, this thing really delivers on all fronts. You can hear the deepest notes, you can hear the highest notes, you can hear the mid-range separated very well. When there are multiple things playing at the same time, it really does separate the sounds really well. So this kind of leads me into the soundstage and imaging, right? So when it comes to imaging, I just generally just play games to figure it out. If you play deathmatch in a game, you can hear footsteps and to see if the opponent kind of goes in front of you and around you. And essentially what I found out with the imaging of this is I would say this imaging is great. Like I noticed that I could tell things on the left, right? As it got closer and closer to the center, that's where it got kind of weak. Like I would say the center imaging on this is still a little weak. Like if they're dead in the center, it was kind of hard to tell. But I could tell when they're like just about here on this kind of angle, but anywhere in the very middle, it was kind of hard to tell. But honestly, I think the imaging on this headphone is really, really good. Now, when it comes to soundstage, I think the soundstage of this is actually pretty good too, because well, these do have 90mm planar, so these drivers are really, really big compared to like a standard headphone that's like a dynamic driver. Like this is a Sennheiser, they have 38mm drivers. They're not very big, as you can see in the middle, versus these are like essentially the whole cup is the driver. So because you have a bigger driver, it really makes things sound really big and tall. So I would say this, at least for soundstage height, is really tall. For width, I would say it actually is pretty wide. I just think maybe the depth of the soundstage for this headphone, maybe not as good. So like, you know, in front of you, how far things extend in front of you. I don't think the really nice mid-range tuning helps that. So I would say the depth may be lacking a little bit. But overall, I do think it has a really nice tall and wide soundstage. All right, so let's talk about the bad about this headphone. So the first thing is this headband. Well, I don't have an issue because I have the most average size head ever. I can see people having issues simply because there's only 3 adjustment points for this. So you're gonna have to somehow fall in between those 3 adjustment points, right? And that seems very unlikely for a lot of people. Now, the other thing is the wiring of this headphone is cool that, you know, you can stick on either side and, you know, you can play it with left or right. But the thing is, there's no documentation letting you know how the wiring works. So like, apparently you can run this balance, right? But I looked for the guide. They even give you, you know, they say on the website, there you can find the user guide. There's no user guide, I checked. So really, I don't know how to wire this balance. I even kind of tried. So there's other wires I have. So this is the known Headphone surgical tube cable is its nickname that people like to give. If you buy their $6,000 Headphone Susvara, they give you this nice shitty cable, but that's besides the point. The point really is that you have a dual entry, a left and a right, right? And then this actually terminates into a balance cable. However, the problem is when I plug it in, I'm only hearing sound from one side on the left. So this cable logically should work, but it doesn't work. I had to kind of Google on there or find on Reddit. They said that they're supposed to come out with some type of adapter that allows you to run balance. So I don't know, they should probably post some information about that. That would be kind of nice. So really to reiterate the sound, honestly, I have not heard such an excellently tuned open back headphone in general. This is one of the best tuned open backs you can get. And what you really get is that nice neutral sound, that nice deep bass, that nice forward vocals, that nice treble extension that you can really hear the detail. You know, if you've never heard a planar headphone play treble, it is one of the most insane things because, you know, when it comes to treble performance, it's really how fast and snappy and the lighter the material is, the better it can reproduce the treble sounds. And so that's the thing I'm always amazed when you hear the treble performance on a planar. It's kind of unlike anything you've ever heard before, in my opinion, and it's something that's honestly really special. So that's the things that I really do like about this headphone. All right, so in conclusion, really, I think this is a really well-tuned headphone with amazing detail. I really do think this is going to be that new headphone that everyone's going to recommend at the price point of $400. I think this is honestly the true upgrade to like the Sennheiser headphones. Like this headphone basically does what a Sennheiser does, but with more detail, better bass, better treble, in my opinion. So this really is that headphone. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe down below. Helps my videos out. And of course, I'll be making more comparisons of this headphone to things like, you know, the Sennheisers. We got other headphones like the Hi-Fi headphones, so more of an audiophile comparison. This is the HE6 SCV2. I have some Bear Dynamic headphone as well, so we can do those comparisons if you guys are interested. So please subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Anyways, I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.